All right, so here we are, another edition of Mayday Monday. It is July 2025, and we're going to jump right into this. Just a couple of warnings right now. We are filming this. Mayday Monday's headquarters is in Central Virginia. The guests tonight are in Baltimore County, Baltimore area, Mid Atlantic. And if you know anything about the summers in the Mid Atlantic, it is um, after dinner storm time. So the guests right here are all up in Baltimore, and they may all disappear if they get hammered with the storms. So don't worry. I think there's only, oh, we just lost one, but hopefully he'll come back. But um, Chief Hughes is in a car, so we may see him spin around and fly off, but hopefully not. So let's get into this thing again, you guys. It is July, last month, the June Mayday Monday. Hopefully you were here, you were with us on that one. And if not, please go back, revisit that, so we can you can catch up on what we did last month. This month we are going to talk about Baltimore County. We get right into this. And Mark, can you bring up the slides? What we have with us tonight is I have a couple of members. We had three members, and we really need to get um, Lieutenant Dennis back here. Hopefully he can get back on. But Chief Hughes and Chief Ebbert. Chief Hughes, if you would do me a favor and introduce yourself, give the viewers a little bit of bio on who you are, and then we'll get to Chief Ebbert.
All right, sounds good. Hi, everybody. My name is Ken Hughes. I'm a deputy chief in the Baltimore County Fire Department. Coming up on my 31st year of service with the Baltimore County Fire Department. So, enjoying my time here. Very proud of what we do. Currently serve as a shift commander on one of the shifts, and also have some ancillary duties where I work with some special operations as well as the communications center. On this particular incident, I did respond. I was off duty and responded from home, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about that during this whole presentation. But nonetheless, jumped into service, made it to the incident very, very, very late. But my primary role was the chairperson working with Assistant Chief Scott Ebbert on the after action report. So everything you see here and everything that we dissected was a result of that after action process. So super proud of what the team did there, and actually very super proud of what our fire department's done moving forward from the lessons learned.
Chief Hughes, you said what, 34 years?
31.
31 years. Wow. So is there a end in sight? Like, make room for another young guy to take your spot?
My apologies.
That's okay.
Soon
That's okay,
to be
Mike.
determined.
Yeah. So Chief Hughes, you're yeah. Well, it sounds like you have some young kids. How old are your kids?
I have a 16-year-old daughter who keeps me very busy with soccer, and actually, before the storms came in, my 11-year-old son had some baseball training, so I was working with him. So the kids keep me busy.
Yeah. So you probably need to make sure that they're taken care of before end your 2 weeks, your 2 times a month paycheck, right? So I get that. I get that. Chief Ebbert,
Yeah, well, here's the good thing. No, go ahead, Scott. Sorry about that.
what was the good thing?
No, the good thing is, well, I started as a volunteer before I got hired, and still actively volunteer in Baltimore County as well. So when I hang up my white Chiefs helmet, I'll still be driving the fire engine at the local volunteer fire company. So
Nice.
it's in our blood. We never leave this stuff.
Yes, sir. Yeah, thank you. Scott, if you can introduce yourself.
Sure. Yeah. First of all, we're super lucky to have chiefs like Ken on our staff and on our team. His level of expertise and experience are invaluable to our organization for sure. I'm on my 26th year, so not as tenured as Ken, but 26 year in the career fire department. I started out also as a volunteer, and I remain an active volunteer in Baltimore County. At the time of this incident, I was actually serving as the Bureau Chief of Training and Education. I did respond to this incident because I served at the time as one of the department's on-duty, on-call safety officers. So I responded to this incident, arrived prior to Lieutenant Dennis, just prior to Lieutenant Dennis exiting the structure, and I was deployed as a safety officer on the Charlie side of the structure. So,
All right, so you said 21 years.
26.
I'm sorry, 26 years. What's your position now?
I'm currently the assistant chief in charge of administration and support services. So I oversee the department's 6 support service bureaus, one of them being training and education.
And how many assistant chiefs do you guys have in Baltimore County?
There are 2. I serve alongside of another assistant chief who's in charge of emergency operations.
Awesome, thank you. And Lieutenant Dennis, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Lieutenant Michael Dennis. I'm assigned currently to the Fire Rescue Academy on a temporary basis. I'll hopefully be going back to Truck 18 soon, stationed in Reynoldstown. I have currently 23 years in the department, over 30 years, including volunteer. I volunteer in Baltimore County as well at the Upper Coast Station. 4th generation fire department in my family. Many uncles, parents, grandparents. So it's definitely in the blood.
I hope all of you watchers, all of you audience out there can check out Lieutenant Dennis's dog in the background there. Lieutenant told us that the dog is having some storm anxiety. So
Extreme.
he's going to be a big part of the show tonight. All right, so thank you guys for coming on. Baltimore County sounds kind of an interesting thing here. Can you put the slides back up, Mark? So real quick about where we are, right? Baltimore County is, I don't know if it's in the middle. I guess it's kind of in the middle of Maryland. But Maryland is so diverse, right? You have the water front down there, Annapolis, even farther south. Last month, if you were on Mayday Monday, you know we were in St. Mary's County, Maryland, way down south. And then you have the mountains up by the lake. What's the lake up there?
Deep Creek Lake,
Deep Creek.
up in Western Maryland.
Deep Creek Lake. You got Frostburg up there. My kid goes to West Virginia, so we spend some time up in that area, like going there. And it's a wide state. There's a lot of different diversity in Maryland. So Baltimore County is in the middle there. The 3rd most populous county in Maryland. It has almost 1 million people. It's sure the daytime population is 1 million, but the full-time population is 844,000. It was founded in 1659, so it's been around for a long time. It's the 3rd largest county by land in Maryland of 682 square miles. So if you do the math, that works out to about 1,300 people per square mile. And you guys that come on the Mayday Mondays here, I'd like to highlight that because I used to work in D.C. and that's about 11,000, 12,000 people per square mile. And now I work in Central Virginia and we're like 65 people per square mile. So it's interesting to see the density and how that changes and how that impacts us in the fire service and the firefighting world. So Baltimore County Fire Department. I've always kind of paid attention to you guys because years ago I used to work for American Fire Equipment, which was the Emergency One dealer in the area, and we would deliver fire trucks up to Baltimore County when you guys were buying E1s back then. So I've seen it, but just tried to wrap my head around Baltimore County. So 29 career stations. You guys are 1,000 members. Is it more than 1,000 or about 1,000?
It's a little bit more than 1,000, about 1,100 career members, and actually the numbers are reversed there. So there's actually 25 career stations and 29 volunteer stations.
Okay, my fault. So with that, you have 4 shifts. So you're doing like a 24/72.
2 10s, 2 14s, 4 off.
Gotcha. So 4 shifts. That's pretty nice, huh?
Yeah, there's also a couple of other different shifts. So we have an E shift that works a Monday through Friday day work shift, and then we have some of our peak performance or peak hours shifts. So M2, M3 shifts who run basically 3 to 11, 7 to 3, and 3 to 11.
Is that like peak units, peak time
Peak
units that
units,
are in
yes.
service?
Mhm.
Are those ambulances, or you also do that for fire trucks too?
So the M shifts, the peak times are transport units.
So that big county is divided into 3 battalions. So
Yeah, three battalions, about
Yes.
220 square miles in each battalion, or something like that. Yeah.
So I'm looking at the map here, right? I see most of all the battalions are kind of close down to Baltimore City. And what kind of response is that from? Is that Battalion 2 in the middle, all the way up to that black area at the top? What kind of response time is that?
Take it,
It's a
Ken.
pretty significant response time. So the way our battalions are set up, yeah, sure. So I'm a deputy chief. I told you I was the shift commander on my shift. So I work on B shift, and there's 3 of us on duty, 2 battalion chiefs and 1 deputy chief. So I
Okay.
am the chief officer assigned to the Central Battalion. So I go from the Baltimore City line all the way up to the Pennsylvania line.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a battalion chief on the east side and a battalion chief on the west side. So, and this is all in the report. This is something that we're pretty passionate about. As you can imagine, it's very difficult being the shift commander while you're managing a battalion, and take into consideration that battalion is so huge. It takes a good, if I'm at station 11, which is closer to the city line, and I get hit for a 45 box, which is by the Pennsylvania line, I can have an excessive 45-minute response time. So that makes it pretty challenging.
So are there volunteer battalions that might also maybe help out?
There are no volunteer battalions. It's just those 3 chief officers on duty who have the primary responsibility of serving in that capacity. So we put a lot of faith and trust in the company commanders, both the volunteer and the career company commanders, the captains, the lieutenants riding in the front seat. And it's good that we put a lot of trust, because it helps develop them and it helps, build their skills. But at the same time, being a realist, and again, this is in the report, it's very difficult from a task saturation perspective to expect somebody to run the incident while managing their crew. So as we talk about the report and as we talk about the fire, that's one of the challenges that we face. We are definitely short-staffed on chief officers.
So I noticed it says so you have 29 volunteer stations with about 2,000 members. How many of those are active members?
I can
I'll
only
yield to
speak
you,
for
Scott.
Upperco, where I
I don't know if
volunteer,
you have
and
an exact.
it's I would say around 20 active members at Upperco, which is station 85, which is on the left side of the county map there. But it varies from station to station. Some are very, very good with having crews on standby, and some are very minimal, and especially in the suburban or up in the rural areas where you don't get many calls. It's harder to get members.
Yeah, again, I'm in a combination system where I am now, and we know that there's members on the books, and then there's the active running members. So, but 2,000 members, that's a pretty strong organization county-wide. All right, let's look at the. There's some of your people, and I like to highlight the people there. It seems like uh, pets are a big thing with you guys. You have a picture down at the bottom right with is that like a support dog or something maybe? And then the top left picture looks like they must have rescued a cat on an incident somewhere. All right, so in the makeup there's 71 engines, 28 career and 43 volunteer engines. 10 truck companies in the county, six career, 4 volunteers, 2 towers. So you have what, 12 truck companies. A tower, I'm sure, right, is kind of treated like a ladder truck.
Hmm.
9 heavy rescues, and those are all
Correct.
volunteer staff heavy rescues.
That is correct.
And 3 hazmat units. Is that one per battalion kind of thing?
So that we have one primary hazmat unit. Super proud of that place because I was a captain on the hazmat team for a number of years out of the Brooklynville fire station. You could take the guy out of the hazmat company, but you can't take the hazmat out of the guy. So our primary hazmat station's right in the center of Baltimore County, right by the Beltway. And we have what we call 2 satellite companies, one at Westview and one at Eastview. They augment the hazmat team, the primary hazmat team, and support with, primarily hydrocarbon spills and whatnot, but also have the capabilities to, don PPE and assist with some of those level B, level A entries.
Is the harbor, that's all in this city, right?
It is, but we have plenty of tributaries that come off of it throughout Baltimore County. There's a tremendous amount of waterways that touch Baltimore County, so we engage and work mutual aid with Baltimore City on a frequent basis, both with hazmat as well as the response on the waterways.
So 57 medic units. Is there ambulances in the volunteer firehouses, or are there volunteer rescue squads as well?
There are combinations. So they are all transport units. They may or may not be staffed with advanced life support, cleared members or capabilities, but I believe all of the volunteer transport units, with the exception of 2, are able to run as ALS units.
And your career medic units, are they all ALS?
It varies. It fluctuates based on staffing availability. Not all the time. Most of the time, I think the majority of our units are BLS, and our advanced life support units are strategically staffed throughout the county.
And those are all like dual role firefighter and EMS?
Not all of them. So we do have EMS entry positions in our department. So you can come work here if you are just interested in being a paramedic or an EMT.
Do they work the same shifts as the 2 days, 2 nights, 4 days off?
Yes, sir. Either one of those 4 shifts, or E shift, or one of those peak shift units. Yeah. So there's some options.
All right. So you guys used to be white or yellow.
We're always hiring, looking. We're always, Tony. Hey.
Go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, we used to have white and yellow, and now we've transitioned over the past. No, we've transitioned over the past couple of years to a different color scheme, to the black and red. But just to put plugs in for Scott, so we're always, everybody's watching this from across the country. We're always interested in hiring some good folks, and this is a good department to work in. Again, having been here a little bit, it's definitely something to consider. So you can do a little search on BaltimoreCountyMD.gov and learn more about coming to Baltimore County and working with us.
Oh, and you're definitely you offer all of the different services, right? You have water, you have hazmat, you have technical rescue. Yeah, you're all services, right?
It's an all hazards department. There's a lot of opportunities to
All
do
hazards.
different things: technical rescue, hazardous materials, Fire Rescue Academy. You can get involved in training, the Fire Marshal's Office, health and safety. There's a ton of opportunities to get some different experiences in the Baltimore County Fire Department.
How many members do you have on shift?
On
Like
shift,
a shift,
there's
a shift.
probably about 230 people that are working at any given time with all the units that we have in service.
Yeah, nice. That's good stuff. So, 4-man engines, 4-man ladder trucks.
Yes, minimum staffing is four engines and ladder trucks, and then obviously, so a little bit of a hybrid deal with our special ops companies. So there's at our technical rescue station, we have an engine and a tower that's staffed, and then a rescue unit that those members will have to jump over to if there's a technical rescue incident. And then kind of the same thing with our hazmat company. There's a dedicated driver for the hazmat unit, but the members that are staffing the engine at that station are deployed to run the hazmat unit if that gets a run.
So, with that, what's a house fire? Kind of response does that get? 4 engines.
So that's kind of evolved recently. Currently, a running assignment for a single family dwelling fire is a chief officer, 5 fire engines, 1 ladder truck, and the next closest special service. So it could be 2 ladder trucks, or a truck and a squad, or a truck and a tower.
A squad.
And a medic unit.
A squad, is that one of your heavy rescues?
Correct.
And those were all volunteer staff?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so that's a house fire. Is you said 5, 1, and a second special service?
5 a truck and the next 2 special service.
And then a multi-family dwelling, does it get the same?
Pretty much the same, except for it would get 2 ladder trucks, or a truck and a tower.
Is there a difference? I know there's a commercial building fire, or is that kind of the same as the multifamily?
Did we bump that up to 6, Ken?
No, the commercials are still
5 and 2.
the same response profile as the multifamilies, so 5 and 2.
All right, so with that, let's get into the response. So July 18th, 2023. So we're a couple of days away from the second, from 2 years ago, this incident happened. What part of the county was this in? I'm going to go back and show the map. If you're
It was
looking
in
at
Station
maps,
56. I can't really see the numbers on the map, but it would be Station 56's in the Reisterstown area of Baltimore County.
is that in, what battalion is that in?
The 2nd Battalion, which would be the West Side
That would be
Battalion.
northwest.
All right, so northwest Baltimore County, northwest of Baltimore City is the Reisterstown. Okay, so you advanced auto parts. So that day, Mike, you were working that day. Was it typical July Baltimore County day?
Yeah, hot and humid. I actually worked a day shift that day. That evening when the fire happened, I was actually on an overtime shift, working with C shift. And that came out in the, I would say, I think it was around 10 o'clock-ish time it came out.
So it was your firehouse but not your shift.
Correct. Yeah, it was I'm normally assigned to the ladder truck on D shift. So I was doing like a 24-hour shift at Station 18 on the ladder truck.
And it sounds like, reading the report, there was a lot of overtime going on in the firehouse that day.
Oh, yeah, throughout the county. We're just everywhere struggling with people. It was just, so we're always working overtime, filling spots.
Right, and in July, typically we have summer vacations, so there's always extra overtime anyways.
Absolutely.
And you work the overtime so you can pay for your Christmas, right?
Right, right.
Yeah, so overtime is going crazy. So what we do know about this fire was a disgruntled worker, right? A disgruntled worker set a fire in this back Charlie quadrant. If you're looking at the screen, the alpha side is to the right, and then the fire was back in the Charlie quadrant on top of a table. Is that what they set it on?
I don't know if it was under on a table. I know it was underneath.
The
So in
stairwell.
that back section in the Charlie Delta corner, it was a second story floor where they had offices and bathrooms, and it was under a set of steps. That was where the fire was set that led to the second floor in that storeroom.
So if again looking at the picture here, the back, the top right picture, top left picture, I'm sorry, that back area on the Charlie quadrant had a second floor, which is depicted on the right here. It had a couple of offices and that stairwell. And investigators think that the fire was started near the stairwell, right?
Correct. Yeah, you can in the videos they have from the security cameras, you can see it starting right there underneath the stairwell.
So do they know like how long before you got there after they think the person started the fire?
I know there's a time frame. I don't have it right in front of me, but
Yeah.
it was I want to say it was 20 minutes or so from the time it was started till the time that somebody finally started calling.
So all of you out there watching
I think
this,
that's about right.
there's a couple of links in the fire engineering post. One of them is to the video. The guys here made a video that goes over the after action, and then there's also a link to the written after action. So look at that. But in the video, it shows you the surveillance video of the auto parts store, and you can see the worker go to the back and then leave, and then 20 minutes later, there's a fire in the building. So the fire's set in the back quadrant here. And then again, so giving you a layout of the building. This is from the rear, right? There's no obvious second floor, right? Because there wasn't any windows there.
Yeah, the only way you could tell from the outside of the building is there was a metal staircase on the Charlie side of like that bump out you see in that lower picture. That was the only way you could tell from the exterior that there was a second floor.
So all right, so you guys, 56 engine 56. Are you at the same firehouse as engine 56?
No, no, sir. 56 is the first due company. Um, Station 18, the way the running assignment is, if all the volunteers are what we call attended, truck 18 would actually be the third, possibly fourth due truck into there. It's just the way things happened that evening. We were there pretty quickly from listening to the radio.
So tell me about that because I was having a tough time following this. So you have some stations that are double dispatched. Is that right?
So like Station 18 has a truck and an engine there. So what we call double pool. They would, if for big boxes like this, an engine and the truck both might go at the same time. If it's a specialty piece, the truck would just go out. If that's what you're asking, yes.
No. I was looking at the run card. Right, there was
The
some
dual dispatch.
firehouses were double dispatch. Right.
Oh, okay. I'll let the chief talk more on that. That's a dispatching thing.
So again, back at the time of this fire,
Are you
you sent 5 engines or 4 engines at the time of this call.
At the time of this fire, we sent 4 engines and 2 trucks on commercial buildings. So one of the changes from the result of this fire is revising SOPs and SOGs, and we've now revised it up to 5. So initially 4 engines and 2 trucks. Are you referencing, Tony, the term dual dispatch?
Yeah.
Is that what you were
Yes.
questioning or asking about? Okay.
Yes.
So, and again, this is just an example of how we as a department have grown from where we were just 2 years ago. So we had an antiquated dispatch system that was a homegrown system that basically was a CAD dispatch that had to find a way to alert the volunteers. But if the volunteers don't happen to show up, because the volunteer fire service can be plagued with that, right? You may not have a crew respond.
Yeah.
We wanted at that time to quickly get crews on the road thereafter. So high performing volunteer fire companies were alerted, and they were given 3 minutes. And if they didn't call en route within 3 minutes, they were response checked and backed up with an additional crew. There were some companies who were not necessarily high performers who had challenges, right? Those companies were on dual dispatch. So a volunteer company could be alerted, and if they fell into that criteria, they would be dispatched, double dispatched or dual dispatched with the next due company to ensure that we got something on the road. So I don't know if that answers your question. It was a way to tackle the challenge of a local volunteer fire company not having a crew, with our mandate to ensure that we got crews on the road as quickly as we could.
No, I get it. I get it. You want to get 4 engines going. You know this company has a tough time, so let's send 5. Let's dispatch 5
Correct.
in the hopes of getting 4.
Exactly.
All right. So with that, right, I saw that again in the
Hey.
report. You can see. I think there was like 6 engines dispatched, and then ultimately they also responded. So you had an abundance of not again. You never have too many, but I get that, right? So you had those units coming. In addition, what was the pre-alert thing?
So in our department, we have what's
So,
called an ADO talk group, which is the administrative duty officer can talk to all the battalion chiefs across the county at one time. It used to be where the ADO would give a preemptive, which would say, "Hey, Battalion 1, we have a 1-3 firebox," and everyone in the county would listen to that channel and go get on the equipment and start heading that way
So this
before
is
the actual tones dropped.
this is a radio channel, and would they use that for other messages too? Like, hey, engine 18 just marked out of service, chief.
I'll let the chief talk more on it, but that was definitely, it's a way for the dispatch to talk, have direct communication to the chiefs without having to call them on their phone.
I see, and that was called the
you
the
hit it right on the
ADO
head, Mike.
channel. So
Yeah, the
that night,
administrative duty officer at dispatch. So
I gotcha. So that night, the administrative duty officer was cueing the chief in. Hey, there's a call coming out for a fire.
Correct. They said,
yep, and everybody that happened to be listening,
Yeah.
also heard that same message, and we
they
are who
said
we are. We're
firebox
programmed the way we're
56,
programmed, so that prompted.
and they said multiple calls. So obviously, it's going to be, it's going to be work. So everyone was getting ready and heading out.
Yeah, no, I get that, right? If we have that ability, we're going to take that opportunity and get on the road because we want to go do our job, right? But there was some companies who don't monitor the ADO channel.
Correct, and also due to the time of the evening, some crews had already went to bed for the evening, and if they're not monitoring or they've already in bed, obviously they were going to be behind the other crews that were listening and sitting up.
So this night, how much time elapsed from the ADO giving that message to they actually dispatch the incident?
It was almost 10 minutes, I believe.
So
it was a pretty extensive amount of time. So one of the sorry, Tony, I didn't mean to cut you off, but that one of the other challenges with that antiquated system that we previously had, we no longer have it. That's the exciting news. We've upgraded to a multi-million-dollar dispatching system that has resolved those issues and that long wait time. Long story short, and again, the report outlines it, the philosophy of that old system was life over property, which means every life-related EMS call had to be dispatched before the building fire was dispatched. And there were quite a few EMS calls in queue. Now, the new system uses determinants to basically say that this is a higher priority. The advanced auto parts fire, for example, is a higher priority than all of these calls. And the new system has resolved that issue of the delay. And again, it's just the way we function. The ADO was just giving everybody a heads up that there was a call coming in, but it was in queue, and they had to get the EMS calls out before they could get the building fire out. So it sounds pretty rough, but the good news is we learned from it and we improved markedly.
And I'm sure there was times where we want the EMS call, right, to be dispatched before a shed fire, right? I mean, there was
Yep.
times where all that worked, right? But you guys saw more times than not, so there was a need to change that. All right, so that night the units got going. Engine 56 was quick on the scene. They arrived at 9:40. At 9:43, 21:43 hours, Engine 56 officer assumed command. And then you can see there in the timeline that at a minute later, the actual call was dispatched on the dispatch channels, and then units responded that weren't already on the road responded as they were supposed to. And you see also in the timeline at the same time that the call was dispatched, there's a unit on the scene calling for a second alarm. He recognized that there was a fire condition inside this commercial building and asked for additional units. So how far away was Battalion 2, I guess, to this incident?
Go ahead, Mike. You want
Okay.
that one since you know the geography much better
So
on the west
Battalion
side?
2 is in the Woodlawn area, which is the station is very close to the Beltway. So mileage wise, it was probably, I would say, 15 miles roughly, but they could get there pretty quick because they shoot right up the Beltway to 795, and then it's right off of 795. So it's pretty quick response for them. However, if, like I said, if they're in bed, I don't remember if he jumped on it right away or not, but I believe he did because he passed us on 795. But yeah, it was a pretty quick response for everybody heading that way.
So 56 is on scene. Were they there by themselves?
Correct. We checked truck 18 and engine 18 when available, non-emergency to there till we heard 56 call arrive and say they needed help. So they still hadn't alerted it yet. So sorry, my dog's jumping on me. So we at that point turned the lights on, told dispatch we were responding, and headed that way. And 56, that was when they called for second alarm, basically right after they alerted the call on channel 1.
So 56 is there by themselves. They get the hand line stretched, but command is on scene. 56 is in
I think we
command.
lost Mike for a second.
56 is in command, but they did not make
Correct.
entry yet, right?
Correct. When we did our after action and did all of our interviews, they identified that they opened the door using a through the lock technique, and were able to, force the door without breaking any glass, which was a huge win in any mercantile structure. Basically, just advanced in a foot or two just to kind of take a look at what was going on. But the lieutenant on engine 56 made it very clear that he was not sending anybody in because he had nobody else there with him. So definitely nobody went in at that point beyond just enough to peek in and see what was going on.
So at this point, when 56 was there, did they do a 360, or was the building too big for them to get around and do a full size up?
He wasn't able to complete his full 360, and when the next engine company arrived on the scene, 413, he directed him to go do the visualization of side Charlie. It was a pretty long span in terms of the size of the building.
So 413 arrives, and I saw it in the video. He did a face-to-face with that officer,
Correct.
and told
Correct.
him to go around back. And again, I know that they didn't pull a hand line, but the idea was they were going to go just get a size up of the rear.
Yeah, I believe they went. If I remember correctly, they were going to do a size up real quick to see if they needed the 500-foot or the stretch. They were going to extend to 2.5 at that point once they figured out the fire load back there.
So 413 gets back. Did they give you did they give command a size up of the rear? Like, we're in the trolley side with 2 stories, or did they not know yet that they still had that they had 2 stories?
I honestly don't remember that point. I know at one point they said they were backing out because they were getting beat pretty good.
Yeah.
But they did at that point say they had a second floor. They had gone up the steps.
So from the front of the building, you said that 56 opened the door. Were they met with a heavy smoke condition inside?
It was very lazy smoke, but it was definitely very thick and black. There wasn't a whole lot of volume in the front at that point. From the videos I've seen from Fado Carter, but at that point they had no heat, the smoke, but they knew they had a fire in there somewhere.
All right. So the timeline at this time, 413 is in the rear. They advised they had a fire and they requested a hand line. So here's a picture again. The top right picture. It's tough to see, but there's orange flames coming out of the top of the picture, and that is the second floor of the rear back there. Looking at the bottom left picture, you can see that now we have, with them opening up the door in the back, we've created that flow path. At 9:01, Engine 18's in the rear now, right? Is that who they Engine 18 then brought the hand line around to the back? Is that right?
Correct.
Engine 18's hand line, was it a engine 3/4, 2.5, or?
I believe they originally took we had 500-foot inch and 3/4 at that time. Our 2.5s weren't that long yet. I believe they did finally extend it later in the incident, but I believe they initially went to the rear with the inch and 3/4.
So again, at 22:01, Engine 18's in the rear. They're trying to attack the fire. At this time, have you made it there yet?
We arrived shortly after 413 did, and I was met by Fado Carter. He was telling me what was going on, and then Lieutenant Womack came up and gave me his size up and report. On C shift, the step man usually carries the thermal imager. So I went back up, got the rest of my stuff. I walked in the store maybe 10 feet to see if there was heat. At this point, the smoke was being sucked in the door with that flow path. Obviously, they had opened the rear of the building. And then I came back out. I got the imager from my step man while he was getting ready. Said, all right, let's go. And we proceeded in with Engine 56's hand line.
So, just a quick reference. FADO is fire apparatus driver operator.
Correct. I'm sorry. Yes, they're the drivers of the apparatus.
And then Stepman.
That's the firefighter of the ladder truck.
Okay. And then you had 4 people on the ladder truck, or just 3?
You have 4. You have the driver, the tillerman, and then you have the firefighter, and then the officer.
I got you. Stepman and officer.
Correct,
On the engine, you have a backup, you have a nozzleman, officer, and driver.
Correct.
So, all right. So Fado is engine 56's driver.
Correct.
He is outside. 56's officer is he outside? Or did he make it inside with his hand line yet?
When I originally got there, he was outside, and then we proceeded in once we got a game plan. We all proceeded in together. They had their hand line, and then I was in there hooking ceilings, trying to locate the fire.
So you guys made it in the front door, and then that's when would you go in different directions?
They went straight in, heading towards Charlie. I went in along Alpha to go down the wall Delta. That's the way I could keep my bearings, and that's when things just kind of went awry.
The step man was with you?
Originally, when I went in the door, I thought he was with me. Yes.
But again, this is kind of that overtime thing too, right? Like you were working overtime, didn't have a game plan with him.
Um, I had worked with him previously. I actually volunteered with him. So I never had any questions with him. I thought he was going to be following me through the door. The only difference between that shift and my shift is the step man usually carried the imager. So when he wasn't right behind me when I came out and got the imager from him. I asked if he was ready, and then off we started proceeding in the door. I thought he was right behind me.
Okay, so you were working with 56 to find the fire.
Correct.
Did you, when you got inside, was there any indication of where the fire was?
No, not at all. I hooked some ceiling. I tried using the imager a couple times. I always carried the imager. I wasn't real familiar with it. Now I am about wiping it off to get it clean. So I would get it right up to my mask. Couldn't really see anything. So I basically, it would just hung on me at that point, and I was just going off of.
Gotcha. Chief. Looks like we lost both of them. So
Yeah,
Chief
these
Ebbert,
storms are rolling through.
yeah. So Chief Ebbert. So we know that 56 and truck 18 are kind of working together to find the fire from the Alpha side.
Correct.
We have engine 18 and 413 in the rear.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. All right. So you and the engine are inside the Alpha side.
Yes, they were basically, I would say, in the center of the store. If you look at the diagram there, more towards between the registers and the racks on the right side. I had went down around Alpha. That way I could keep my foot on the wall, kind of keep my bearings. I was also listening at that point, and I had done it on calls before where I'd listen for the hose line to hear where the water was hitting, and that would also help me keep my bearings. And then once I got it down along Delta is when, I don't know if it was from me hooking, something came down and hit me, knocked me down. When I got my bearings, got back up, I didn't hear the water anymore. So I got on what I thought was Delta, and the shelf I was on led me further into the store.
So it was zero visibility.
Correct.
Wow. Yeah. So definitely. But was it cold smoke at that point?
There was no heat. No heat at all. You would get, if you watch the imager video, once in a blue moon, you would get you would see a wisp of a shelf or something in the imager once you watch the videos. But for the most part, it was zero visibility.
So at what point did you realize that you were lost?
So in my mind, not knowing the store, I thought the shelves went perpendicular, or along with the front of the store. I did not expect them to be on a diagonal.
Mm-hmm.
So as I started going up the shelves, thinking I was on Delta, I started passing these plastic like push carts. After I passed those carts 2 or 3 times, I'm thinking I'm just walking in circles.
Yeah.
So I stopped. I was trying to listen, get my bearings. Couldn't hear anything. Thinking I would hear at least the fire engine out front. I didn't hear anything. So I tried walking around the shelves some more. I don't know how I passed the registers, where I ended up, and then I finally got to the point where I needed help. That's why I started calling for help, urgent messages.
And so that was on the task channel. That was
Correct.
yeah. And you weren't getting any response.
No, you get what we and Chief Hughes, he's really passionate about the radios now. We would get what's called a bonk,
Mm-hmm.
where you wouldn't be able to get through because someone else was keying up. I did that a couple times. The couple times it did key up, I would say truck 18 urgent, because I didn't feel like I was necessarily in a Mayday situation at that point. I felt like I just needed some guidance. But once it started getting to the point where nobody was listening to me, I called dispatch. They answered, and then when they couldn't understand me, I finally called the Mayday. I needed some help to get out.
Yeah, no, I get that, and that's something that I'm sure you've seen, right? That's that whole process of realizing the realization that you need help, and you didn't, right? We don't want to admit it, and then ultimately, yeah. Fortunately for you and for everybody involved, it wasn't too late, right?
Correct.
So okay, so you called Mayday, and then did you decide to stay where you were, or did you
I
think, oh, let me keep moving?
I did. My bottle had gotten to the orange part where I about 50%. So I took a knee to conserve my air. And that's when I just waited for help. And actually, Engine 19's officer, once the RIT team deployed, he was there within a minute.
So Engine 19 was assigned as the rapid intervention team, according to SOG.
Correct. They were the fourth arriving engine, so they were assigned RIT.
All right, so the same kind of thing with him. He was on overtime. Is that right?
No, that Engine 19's officer and driver were the normal crew. I believe the two firefighters in the back were callback.
So it sounds like the same kind of thing, right? They deployed, and then he made entry, and those guys like didn't catch up to him because he was by himself too, right?
Correct. I don't know what played out in the front. I know it sounds to me like they went in, but they lost contact with each other. So the other two firefighters came out, and then they never came back in or weren't allowed to come in. I don't know what transpired out front.
So reading the report, he felt pretty familiar with the building, huh?
Correct. Captain Levin has some very unique vehicles where he spends a lot of time at the auto parts store, and he knew that layout very well.
Was that like a politically correct way of saying it or something? Or?
Yeah, he has. He
Okay,
he's
so
constantly working on his vehicles.
I see.
We'll leave it at
So
that.
at any rate, it worked out in your favor that he has this need to go into the auto parts store.
Correct.
So once he made entry, it didn't take him long to find you.
I would say it was less than a minute. He was right there, and talking to him afterwards, he goes, "I didn't even realize it was you were the Mayday because he found me so fast."
All right, so you guys are together. When did you realize that the two of you were now needed some assistance?
So he goes, "You ready?" I follow him. I'm following him, thinking we're going right back out. I'll get my bearings in the front, and we'll go right back to work. After we crawled around for a while, the vibro alert started going off of my mask, and I asked him, "Do you know where the heck you're going?" Um, and that's when he asked for the air horns to be sounded on the equipment. We didn't hear anything. Had no idea where we were that far in the building. Um, and That's when he probably should have called for another Mayday, but then that's when he called for help, and we realized we were in trouble.
So again, reading the report, and chiefs, you guys can chime in here. It sounds like the deputy got there at the same time. And so the deputy
Yeah,
arrives on
the
scene, and
deputy chief.
he wants an evacuation.
Well, so yeah, one of the shortcomings that we discussed is the fact that there's only three of us on duty. So one of my counterparts out of the Towson Fire Station, which is right in the middle central battalion, if you remember that map, he responded, and it takes a significant amount of time to get from Towson, even though you're jumping on the Beltway, all the way up there to a 56 box. So he had a pretty extensive response time when he got there. In the report, it outlines that his goal was to try to do a face-to-face with the incident commander, the battalion chief on scene. So he got out of his vehicle and he was mobile, and he had his portable radio and missed a couple of different transmissions. The transmissions he did hear was that we've got the Mayday firefighter and we're on our way out, which is good to hear. But then he missed some of the additional information, which included Captain Levin saying, "Can you sound the air horns? We can't figure out where the front of the building is." So yeah, it was basically just an inundation of trying to be mobile, trying to find the existing incident commander and missing some radio transmissions, and acting on some bad intelligence, with the best of intentions that this thing's starting to look pretty bad. It's time to get everybody out. But I don't think he realized, I know he didn't realize at that time that we still had Mike. And Mike, it gives me chills every time I hear you talk about this. I hope everybody understands how close you were. So wow, and kudos to you for being able to hold yourself together on that incident and talk about it here. But yeah, that's what happened with the deputy chief that arrived. So lack of full intelligence because he missed some transmissions, and the evacuation was ordered, and that prompted some folks to come out. And part of the reason why the initial RIT team didn't fully deploy with the captain, again, there were some communication issues there, but there was also some misidentification of some of those overtime members. So if you say engine 19 is RIT, but a firefighter from station 3 is working an overtime shift on engine 19, and they come to the front door and say, I'm on engine 19, or I'm part of RIT, a reflex response is, well, you're on engine 3, so you're not part of the RIT, so hold off. So I think some of that confusion led to the full RIT team not being deployed.
No, understood, and it's great that you said that, because yes, it says that in the report, but to be able to grasp that situation, and especially in the heat of the moment, right? Again, we are all pretty safe right now. I know you guys are having storms, but while we're talking about this, we don't have the pressure that they did at that moment. So we have. Um, Engine 19 and you, Lieutenant Dennis, you are together.
Correct.
You recognize that you need some help, but you're also running out of air. Is that right?
Correct. About the time, I don't remember if it was before or after, we asked for the air horns, didn't hear it. That was when Captain Levin asked for help, and then he at that point, we hooked up buddy breathing.
So Captain Levin and you are connected to his SCBA model.
Correct.
All right, we'll look at that more in a second. But so, all right, so you call for help. Now, the chief is kind of he's in the front of the building, Battalion 2. Is that right?
Yeah, that was I believe Captain Phil Stewart was that night. He was acting battalion chief. He was out front of the building. When I came out, I believe I saw the deputy chief 3 was out there with him. Everyone was right there on Alpha.
So at the same time, right, you had two hand lines in the front of the building, right?
Correct.
Were they attacking any fire, or was all the fire kind of in the rear in that Charlie quadrant?
Those hand lines were just basic. I want to say left. They weren't using them. They weren't able to hit any fire from Alpha at that point because the firewalls actually did their job. So all the fire was on the Charlie side. In that, if you look at that picture you're looking at now, the gray area is where all the fire was.
Yeah. So, but the hand lines were stretched from the front, but never operated.
Not they operated a little bit when we were trying to find the fire, but when I got disoriented, I never heard any water flowing anymore from the Alpha side from those two hand lines. From what I understand and all the videos I've seen, everything was from Charlie trying to go in that back door.
So Battalion 2 now, the deputies arrived, and he's assumed command, and the battalion now is assumed like a division role.
So when division chief Ramis arrived, he assumed command, but Captain Stewart, who was acting battalion chief 2, maintained the RIT. He maintained the RIT till that was finalized.
All right, so he's got the RIT, and he sends units in.
I don't know what transpired there because the crew that came in and got Josh and I was two guys who I normally work with on D shift. They're on my ladder truck Fados. One was driving engine 18 that evening, and the other was a firefighter on engine 3 that evening. But when they walked up to the front door, they both have station 18 shields on their helmet. They thought they were from truck 18. because they're very well known in the battalion, and that's who got sent in.
Yeah, so that's a good point because I did read the report that says 2 members from Truck 18 are being sent in.
Correct.
In actuality, one was driving engine 18 and the other one was backup on engine 3.
Correct.
All right, so those 2 members are sent inside.
Yes.
Did they did they deploy a search rope, or was there any kind of search procedure, or was it just, again, let's go, let's see if we can go find them?
From my understanding and talking to them, they had a plan. They were going to follow the hand lines. One of them each took a hand line. And then once they heard my pass device, they led them right to him. One stayed about, Fado Nichols stayed about at the halfway point near the hand lines. Fado Murray came in where it found the pass device, heard us, led us back out to Fado Nichols, and then Fado Nichols led us the rest of the way.
I got you. That makes sense now. Reading the report, it says that the driver was the one who found you guys, and then on the way out, there was 4 of you exited.
Yeah, I believe Fado Nichols stayed with a hand line or right near a hand line. He knew where it was, and then as soon as Fado Murray found us and brought us back through the door, he was right there, met us, and then led us right out.
All right, so you listeners, watchers at home, you can see the diagram here, and the hand lines, the 2 hand lines we're speaking of, yellow and green, didn't really make it out of the showroom area here. These Lieutenant Dennis and the captain were in this middle showroom back here in the corner, and the engine 18 driver branched off of this hand line, was able to find them, and then he led you back out to the Alpha side.
Yes, we exited the Alpha side. I had no idea where I was until the next day. Battalion Chief Kemp found my. I carried door chocks on my helmet. My helmet had fallen off at one point, and that's where they found my door chocks. Is where you see engine 19 and then in truck 18 there on the map there. That's where they found my door chock.
So again, looking back on the timeline, at 22:10, Battalion 2 sent the 2 members that he thought were both from Truck 18, were actually Engine 18 and Engine 3, sent them inside. At 22:10, the driver from Engine 18 and the backup men make entry. 22:13, the Engine 18 driver finds the lieutenant and the captain, and 5 minutes later, all 4 of them exit the building.
Correct.
So one thing I noticed, and Chiefs, please correct me if I'm wrong, but when the air horns sounded, right, when the deputy chief arrived on scene and told the units to evacuate, people evacuated. In fact, including the ones who were operating the hand lines. Is that right?
Correct.
But the fire attack was primarily in the rear.
Yeah, the fire attack was all from the rear on Charlie side at that point.
But what we know now, right, is they were fighting. Not only were they fighting the fire, they were fighting the flow path. So it wasn't a very efficient fire attack.
Talking with the gentleman who did the study for us, I don't know what company he was from, but he did the flow path study. If we'd have shut the front doors, it probably would have helped tremendously. But at the time that we didn't know that.
Yeah, and in fact,
Yeah, that was.
Go ahead, Chief.
Sorry, that was Dan Madrikowski. Dan Madrikowski from Underwriters
That's right.
Laboratory,
Okay.
who's, Dan's a heavy hitter in the fire service, and everything that he's just brilliant, and everything that he does tremendously helps what we do. So yeah, you referenced the link to the video, and in the video we've got helmet camera footage of the clear, sucking of fresh air into the flow path and creating that flow path from side alpha. So to Mike's point, Dan offered it would have definitely impacted the flow path and helped with extinguishment of the fire had that front door been closed.
So, but with that, right? Yes, it also sounds like you guys did a good job of resisting the urge to take windows out.
Yes.
Yeah, we have
So,
helmet camera footage of that as well. You know, the question being posed: do you want us to take out the front window? And to the acting battalion chief's credit, he was like, "No, absolutely not," because that definitely would have changed things dynamically. You know, Mike, and Josh were protected by that block constructed wall, but it very easily could have, you know, communicated. And they were obviously challenged with the ideal age created from the smoke, nonetheless. But the superheated gases weren't that far from them, so any changes would have been pretty significant.
right, right, and would have filled the whole compartment, not just the overhead, right?
Sure.
And
So,
I,
so with that, right? So again, this is hindsight. Do you believe that the fire attack would have been more effective from the Alpha side than what you had from the Charlie side?
that's a tough question because with the fire doors being closed, all the smoke was coming, I guess, lack of better words, up and over and coming in. So it would have taken time to find it. If you were able to find it quickly, I would say probably. But
Yeah.
it's hard to say if they wouldn't have opened the door on Charlie. Would the fire have not gotten as severe? You know, a lot of factors played into that.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So okay, so this is one of the slides that I found in your in both the report and the really it was in the video. Highlights one of the things we do. We do a lot of stuff with SCBA here, Mayday Mondays, because it is so important. And this is a great graphic to kind of emphasize um, SCBA usage, air usage, your breathing rate, and how all those things are important. Why it's so important for us to be able to make that to have that bottle last as long as possible. So at the top here is Engine 19 officer. That's his SCBA, and then your SCBA is down here at the bottom. Um, so you can see here, right, when the SCBA was turned on, the breathing rate, and then at some point it started to decrease, and then at this orange area, if you will, that's when the buddy breathing began, and at that point, which another graphic here at the bottom, you can see that the at that point when the buddy breathing connection was made, the breathing rate more than doubled. Again, makes sense, right? Because there's two people breathing off of one cylinder, so it's the breathing rate should double because there's two people,
That
and
we're
then
actively
knowing
starting to work too.
how quickly that's going to be depleted. We're working against the time, right? And that's time is definitely not in our favor on the fire ground. With that, looking at this bottom graphic is Lieutenant Dennis's SCBA. And one thing I think what you started out with, what, about like less than a full bottle?
It was right around 4,000.
So right around 4,000, you can see he turned it on. He's breathing at a pretty regular rate. And then if he had continued at that point, he would have run out of air before he made it out of the building. But the buddy breathing connection was made, and that was able to keep him. You can see the trajectory of that dotted line ended before he would have been able to make it out. So again, knowing these things, understanding these things, that's why it's so important to make sure your bottle is full and that you can control your breathing. Um, I don't know. You did talk about when you called the Mayday that you did take a knee and begin. I guess did you begin controlling your breathing or thinking about that?
Correct. I was in one of the first classes we had for safety and survival, and you go to what you know. We had a great chief, Chief Kimball, taught it, and he was big on that, learning how to just maintain your air, stay calm, So that was my thought process, was to just take a knee and try to do the best I could. And this was before I learned about all the box breathing and all that. This was just me taking a knee and trying to slow my breathing down, save air.
Yeah, yeah. Make that air last as long as possible, right? All right, so that's again Mayday Monday regulars. You'll take that in and digest that information. So here we are with the two of you, Chief Hughes, Chief Ebbert. You guys were involved in the after action review of this incident, and with that, right, there was 25 different recommendations that were discovered here. So, real quick, I'll just run down the list. Effective fireground tactics. What do you mean by that? Is that again making the most out of your hand lines and things like that?
The
Yeah,
primary
I think
focus
that
of that is the risk
encompasses a lot.
assessment piece, and the
Yep. Go
and
ahead,
the
Ken.
and the use of the thermal, and no, it's all good. And the use of the thermal imager as well also fell into that category as one of the recommendations. And we've done some department wide training on the tick, and I'm sure Mike would agree that tick, you're pretty comfortable with it now, right? And that
Oh
you were
my gosh,
comfortable with it
yes,
then, but that's your best friend now. That is your best friend now.
absolutely. And I'm down in the academy now with our current recruit class, and they have hands on everything every day, every minute we can. The way we don't fail them.
Yeah, I feel for you because I was involved. In fact, I was the subject of a Mayday about, I guess it's been 10 years ago now. And it was we were the first arriving ladder truck. We were outfitted with a thermal imaging camera, but it was the generation of, you ever heard of the carpet kicker? We had the carpet kicker thermal imaging camera. It was huge. It was huge. So we were the first surviving truck company, but we arrived after the rescue squad. And the rescue squads in DC were outfitted with 4 thermal imaging cameras. Everybody that went inside the building had a thermal imaging camera. So I didn't feel the need to take it. I didn't take it. Ultimately, I missed the elevator shaft that probably would have been seen, right, with thermal properties and that kind of stuff. And I fell down the elevator shaft. So, yeah, I get you. The thermal imaging camera, there's so many things that we can do. Right? There's so much potential with that. We just have to understand it. And so many firefighters don't understand what we're going to be able to do with that camera. So we'll talk more about that. So the next one, need for command and safety officers. Um, Again, I was pretty surprised early on tonight that you have 3 battalions or 3 commanders for the different battalions on duty in 690 square miles.
About 680 square miles. Yeah, we hit on this earlier, right? It's a lot of territory for 3 chiefs to cover operationally. On top of that, they have other ancillary duties, other projects that they take the lead on.
Yeah,
So they attend different meetings and things like that. And just the distance to travel to be an effective, incident commander. We struggle to do it every day. And, not to mention the span of control and how important it is to have an effective span of control on an incident scene, especially when it starts to grow legs, right? When it starts to go multi-alarm, and all the resources that you have to manage on the incident scene. So, this isn't the first report, unfortunately, that we've seen for Baltimore County that suggests that there's a need for additional operational battalion chiefs out there in the field, as well as on-duty safety officers. So when this incident occurred, we had a model where there were six members of the department that have other primary duties. So, for example, the chief in charge of logistics, obviously the chief of safety, myself at the time as the chief of training, and then some other people that work out of logistics. We served as the on-call safety officers. So, we would work at our office or, whatever our work location was during the workday, take our company car home home with us, and then if a call came out that called for a safety officer, we would respond from our house. So that was problematic, right? In that
Yeah.
not everybody lives, in Baltimore County. They live in surrounding counties. I was actually probably the only one that lived in the county at the time, and had close access to the Beltway to get places. But so we struggled with getting a dedicated safety officer on the scene, and our solution before we put on-duty safety officer in service was to pull, a company officer to assume that responsibility, and that's not the right thing to do either, right? Because we're
Yeah.
breaking up a crew. We're affecting the integrity of that crew now, who doesn't have a boss or a leader or supervision because they're worried about being the safety officer for the entire incident. So we've since put an on-duty safety officer in service, full-time, 24/7, follows our 4 shifts. They run out of the Pikesville fire station on the west side, and we used heat maps to determine where that first safety officer would be. And Lieutenant Dennis will be happy to support me on this. Most of the fires are over there
On the
on the
west
west
side.
side, right? So that's where the first on-duty safety officer went.
Awesome. So do you anticipate adding any more battalions or other command officers?
We are, we're doing the work every day to justify and figure out the funding puzzle that we have to put more operational chiefs in service.
Yeah.
It's an absolute priority for us in the administration. We'd also like to put more safety officers in service. It's a lot of territory for one on-duty safety officer to cover.
Yeah.
We'd like at least one in each battalion.
No, I appreciate that. I was a on-duty safety officer in Washington, D.C. We had 69 square miles, and we were still overworked, right? So the next one was freelancing. I don't need to say, we don't need to talk about that, right? I mean, that's an obvious one. How about crew integrity and accountability? Is that the same kind of thing about like you're talking about with the safety officer? If you were to appoint a company officer as a safety officer, you've now broken that crew integrity.
Sure. There's that. And then, we talked about the deployment of the RIT team. So how the officer of Engine 19, deployed by himself. And part of the reason there was we had another officer that acted as kind of a point of entry control member at that Alpha side. And when that officer saw those different helmet shields and it didn't say Engine 19 on it, he actually stopped them at the door and wouldn't let them go in. So we've addressed that because everybody still works at different work locations with different helmet fronts and identifiers. We've purchased and installed unit identifiers that go on the shoulder strap, the left shoulder strap of every SCBA. So we have unit identifiers now so that we can take a quick look at somebody from the front and say, okay, that's a fighter on Engine 19. Let them deploy with the RIT.
And something so simple, right, that can have an impact. All right,
Absolutely.
next, risk assessment and situational awareness. Did you see an issue here with a risk assessment?
LT, do you want to hit that?
So I owned up to it. Mainly knowing your equipment. If I'd have used the imager more, I'd have seen that thermal layer at the top that you saw, the screen grabs. Knowing where your people are, I'd go with the situational awareness. if I would have known I didn't have my guy with me, I probably would have stopped sooner and head back to figure out what was going on. But you know, the heat of the moment, you just push on. So, and I think the other problem in our area is we don't get many commercial structures. Not that that's an excuse, but our bread and butter is basically the dwelling fire and apartment fire. So I've definitely done a lot of. I've gone down some rabbit holes looking at that, so I don't allow it to happen to me or my crew again.
So with that, right, we've done a lot of Mayday Mondays where we've talked about that very situation where you bring the residential tactics into a commercial building. And one of those residential tactics that I think we all agree we need is speed. Um, because there's lives involved, right? And again, we know that with a commercial building, the life hazard is very low. And in fact, the real life hazard here was yours, right?
Correct.
Because we did deploy into this commercial building. You had the forced entry to get in there. So yeah, those are things absolutely. And I think that I appreciate you. I appreciate you owning that one, like you said, because the risk assessment in commercial buildings is a big deal when we're deciding what we're going to do. Command and control is that just leads to, again, I know the deputy arrived and the battalion assumed a role as the rapid intervention, the Mayday group leader, if you will. But is there need to be some more assignments, some more active in the command and control?
Yeah, there wasn't a seamless transfer of command on this incident. So when the deputy arrived, there wasn't a clear transfer of command and pass on of information that had occurred before the deputy assumed command of the incident. So which can lead to some confusion as to who's in charge and what assignment the battalion two, the acting chief had at that point. He had kind of self-deployed, so to speak, as kind of the RIT coordinator, the RIT commander, if you will, for that incident. So, and then you talk about making sure that there's a benefit. Everybody's got a little bit of different ways of running command, but there's a benefit to a fixed command post and operating from inside a vehicle with a controlled environment, free of distraction, and having some help, right? Having some help. Document on the command board where everybody is, help out with accountability and our air management monitoring system. There's a lot to be said for those things.
No, good stuff. Good stuff. Crew resource management. Again, we're not going to dig too deep into that because I think it is a idea that has kind of evolved into the fire service. And if you aren't really using crew resource management, then I think you're missing out on the advantage of having 3 or 4 different sets of eyes looking at the same problem that might have a different idea. You're missing out on the diversity of a crew where I see it one way and he sees it a different way. So I think the crew resource management is definitely um, an idea that needs to be fully adopted in the fire service. Um, I'm gonna skip over physical fitness because again, I don't have it. No shit, right? This is a demanding job, physically demanding job, and if you're not in a good shape, right, you have to be fire fit, and that is something that we promote here at Mayday Mondays, and we have to continue to push that. Fire behavior. Um, it's obviously a big deal when you brought in some of the heavy hitters, like you said, Dan Mazurkowski, and I know he has been he's been visited with Baltimore County before because fire behavior was a big issue on Mark Falkenhand's fire, and and fire behavior is a big role in everybody's fire, right? So Dan is the best when it comes to that. Fire behavior, we have to understand that when the biggest one of the biggest things I think that we get out of this incident, which was exemplified so well, is the idea about anti-ventilation. Everybody thinks that once we get water on that fire, well, now we can take every window. You really can't do that in what was that, a 20,000 square foot building?
Right, every bit of it.
And any kind of the ventilation, you change the ventilation profile in that, and it's going to have real bad circumstances. So fire behavior is a big one. What did you guys? Was there anything really that really stood out to you guys in the fire behavior?
The fire behavior, it never got hot anywhere I was. I mean, it got warm, but watching the videos, you can obviously see the smoke change when they opened the rear doors. It immediately started sucking in the front. Um, I don't know if we could have communicated that better. Hey, what changed or whatnot. But yeah, recognizing that definitely would have helped.
I think it's important too, Tony, to point out here the kind of building this is, right? What it's stored. You had a fire that was started with some ordinary combustible products, some paper towels and things like that were lit on fire in or near a janitor closet. But you have to think about what this building was. It was an auto parts supply place. So oil and all kinds of different fluids. It was essentially a hazmat scene. So the fire was located kind of in the center of the building, not very accessible directly. There were a lot of twists and turns that you needed to make to get a line to the seat of the fire. And so you have that flow path and all that stuff comes into play there. So I think that's important to note.
Yeah, and again, right, knowing all that kind of lends us back to that risk assessment and situational awareness one as well. Yes, fire behavior, but fire behavior is so simple, and it has to be a foundation. We have to spend more than the 3 hours that's required by our fire essentials book. We have to spend some more time with firefighters, but then definitely even officers, right? We need to spend some more time. We need to continue to go back because we've learned so much over the years about fire behavior. Initial dispatch, I think we've kind of hit on that pretty good, right? You guys had the pre-alert thing going on, and while it's a good idea, it may be a good idea, but it had its challenges. So, have you rectified that initial dispatch recommendation?
Yes, they no longer pre-alerts are no longer a thing. That way, everyone arrives kind of in the order they're supposed to, as well as the new dispatching system. We went to the P1, which eliminated all the I don't want to say fluff calls, but the priority calls are dispatched in a more timely manner.
Good, good. How about actions during a Mayday? What are we talking about there? Like what the individual firefighter actions should take?
I'd have to look up what it actually says, but I know, like the initial RIT crew, they pulled the bag, what they thought were the RIT bags off the ladder truck, because at the time only the ladder trucks carried the RIT equipment. Um, Truck 18, they used to primarily always be carried in the Stokes basket.
Oh yeah, yeah.
When we got the new ladder trucks, they wouldn't fit. So they were on a different shelf. So what they thought they were grabbing was not the RIT equipment. So it's more of knowing your equipment, work with your department, your different stations, and knowing your equipment. When you pull the bag out, look in it. Don't just bring it to it and sit it there. I think that was kind of where that was going a little bit.
And I think and I apologize. Can you guys hear me? Because I had to
Yes,
switch
sir.
computers. Yeah. Sorry. Technical difficulties in the midst of a storm. I think the other big point of emphasis is that recognizing the need to call a Mayday as quickly as you can, because it's better to call for it and then obviously tell everybody to stand down if the resources aren't needed. And Mike, to his credit, is one of the pivotal players in our advanced firefighter rescue. And Mike, you can talk about that. But that was one of the things with the whole actions during a Mayday, how to deal with it, how to do the box breathing, how to deal with, calling for it early, and some of those skills associated with that. So we have a lot of training across the department that's emphasized that.
The one other thing to hit on that as well is one of the first questions I was asked by Chief Hughes once everything calmed down was, why didn't I hit the emergency button on the radio? And it was I've never pushed it before. I didn't even think about it, and I was just going to what I knew at that time. So that's also, we hit on that repeatedly now. Chief Hughes has gotten us radios where we can actually hit the button now. The recruits get to actually physically do it. So good stuff coming out of it.
Yeah, I think that we can't not do it because of whatever excuse, right? I mean, I know. Well, it's going to take you to channel 2, and you're going to hear this on that. Well, we have to find a way to work around that and be able to get our people that muscle memory that comes with that, right? And again, you guys did it. You guys have recognized that without losing your life. Other fire departments haven't, and it's a shame. And I hope, right, that other fire departments, that the idea behind Mayday Monday is that people watch this and they don't have to repeat the same thing that you did. They don't have to repeat the same thing that Baltimore County did. Baltimore County learned this for us. Let's learn that from them and practice these things. Face piece seal. I don't understand that. Did you actually have issues with firefighters not having good seals on their face piece?
So on my end, if you listen to the difference, and I don't know if they gave you that when Chief Hughes sent you the file. We have a cut where you can hear on the thermal imager me clear as day talking to dispatch and trying to relay messages. However, if you listen to the actual TAC channel recordings, I'm breaking up because the Bluetooth is not picking up what I'm saying, because I must have had a break in my seal. So dispatch and the command were struggling to understand what I was trying to relay to them.
So this is kind of an aside because I'm going through SCBA evaluations right now and looking at the Bluetooth capabilities of each of the different manufacturers. Was that a seal issue? It wasn't a Bluetooth issue. It was the seal.
No, it was so, and you've seen it over the years. I'm sure you pull you pull your mask on tight, check a seal, you're good. As soon as you start exerting yourself and getting sweaty, you almost need to redo it again. So now I've gotten in the habit where I just yank it as hard as I can and just deal with the pain because I don't want to break that seal now.
I'd have to call you back and get your take on some of the Bluetooth stuff because we're looking at that right now. So thank you, Rich. Rit, is that changing some emphasis on Rit, or is it go back to your tool issue?
I really can't speak on RIT other than the tool issue, and I know when Captain Levin got to me, he didn't have any tools other than he had his SCBA with him, thank God. I think it's just we did 3 phases of what we call RIT training. The first reiteration of it was the back to the basics, drags, carries, searches, and then we have gotten all the way up, and now we're doing advanced firefighter rescue stuff. So it's really got us back to the basics.
Since your Mayday, you've had these 3 different iterations?
Correct. Yeah, we had the 3 different phases of RIT, and now we're doing advanced firefighter rescue, which is built off of everything the guys taught us in RIT, and now we're running full-scale scenarios.
I did see something. Is that you guys are doing that in conjunction with Baltimore City too?
I believe Baltimore City and FDNY kind of started it, and then a bunch of our guys went and looked at what they were doing. I think Chief Ebbert was involved in that, if he wants to speak on that.
Yeah, so we have a group of dedicated cadre that work in the field and at our training center that took some time to go see what FDNY and Baltimore City were doing for their advanced firefighter rescue programs, and they brought it back to us. And so it's a very intense, physically and mentally demanding program. But we bring in guest speakers that talk about case studies, right? So we go over the Falcon Hand fire, we go over, the battalion chief Josh Laird and Nate Flynn fires, and other line of duty deaths, Alan Roberts from the city, other line of duty deaths that have happened in our region, so that we can learn from them. And then there's actually practical scenarios that are built off of some of those case studies that the members then go. They go practice those skills.
Good. I'll have to come check that one out then. So,
Yeah.
how big are SOPs? And that's a kind of a right. Again, if you're working on SOPs that are built on old fires, right, and now we have new fires. I mean, I wouldn't say new, but fires have evolved. Hopefully, our SOPs have evolved at the same rate to keep up with those. Mayday communication practices, is it kind of build on the lunar, who, what, where kind of stuff?
Yeah, we predominantly used Lunar up until that point. Now it's more of a who, what, where. Obviously, if you listen to the tape, I didn't do any Lunar. They knew who I was, and I basically told them where I thought I was. So the Lunar fell right out the window for me, but the who, what, where seemed to works better, and it's a lot simpler.
And I think this particular communication practice's recommendation also emphasized the use of the EAB, so you get that ruthless preemption. So again, sharing the information of what we learned, anybody can reach out, and I'd be glad to chat with them about how we took these radios and actually have radios now where when you hit the EAB, you do get ruthless preemption, but it doesn't set the bells and whistles off at dispatch. So it's great because we can do it all day long. Because like you said about muscle memory, Tony, it's not until you do it multiple times that you actually understand how beneficial it would be. Mike, when he was trying to communicate his need for help, got those subscriber rejects, and you can hear them on the thermal imager as the radio is transmitting from updates from Side Charlie and other people talking on the radio. And when you remember that extrapolation of the SCBA error, he only had a couple of minutes left. So it really does, seconds matter. So hitting that EAB, which was the primary component of that communication, Mayday communication part, it's a big deal.
So with that, I didn't realize all the different things you can program your radio to do.
Right.
Right. And how you can give it priority and it can change you channels. I mean, all these things that you can set your radio up to your advantage, right? And all we have to do really is ask the manufacturers, ask Harris, ask Motorola, and they probably have a way to get it done. Dispatch communication, I think we kind of talked about that, right? Field unit comm, is that, do you have a field communication unit, or is this, again, it goes back to some of that, how you talk on the radio?
Primarily how you talk on the radio, and back to that who, what, where versus the Lunar model. So that's primarily what that finding discussed.
How about one of the things that I've noticed is the closed loop communication. And without that, again, as much as I hate talking on the radio, we have to close that loop. And if we don't, we miss things. So, apparatus staging, was there an issue with that on the incident?
There was. We had a little bit of, because it was in a large parking lot, everything kind of congregated. So, appointing a staging officer consistent with our standard operating guidelines is just the point of emphasis of that particular finding.
I'm going to skip the pre-plans because I think that's kind of obvious. What about personal mental health? Is this just some behavioral health stuff?
People who were struggling needed help. didn't really feel like we had the team. We had a SISM team with peer support. From what I understand, they did show up that night, but none of the guys on scene really knew about it. Some of the guys felt that the first couple companies that were actively involved in the rescue should have gotten relieved, but they were told, that weren't told, but they went right back to work. It's been a struggle for some people, but I think we're starting to get leaps and bounds better. You can always improve on what you have. It started after this. They started members helping members, so the peer support's there in the field. It's just it's a trust thing, I believe, and it's getting better.
And I can add, if I could, Tony. Sorry, I'll add, and Scott, you can chime in. I think we as chief officers missed the mark when it came to focusing on the mental health and wellness of the folks who were involved on that particular incident. I know, Mike, you can probably chuckle a little bit. I think when we presented all of this to some of the primary responders, they were very open and candid with how we may have missed the mark. So I think departmentally we're working hard to try to do a better job. One of the things that we've done is contracted with a fitness company that does not only the physical fitness, but also has some human performance specialists associated with their industry, some strength and conditioning coaches. So it's actually really cool because obviously, the physical fitness is important, but from the totality of the human, that whole behavioral piece of it is a big part of it. So I don't know, Scott, any other thoughts about that?
Yeah, there were missteps on that incident scene, right? Because I think we made an effort to gather up the officers and kind of debrief the officers, but we did not take into account those that were involved in the rescue, right? Involved in the Mayday scenario. They are physically tired from all of the tasks that they took on, just doing their job when they got there. On top of that, deploying for the Mayday, it's a huge adrenaline rush when you're in there looking for Mike and guiding Mike out of there, and then after that, it's a dump, and you're mentally and physically exhausted, and we did not treat them accordingly. We needed to do a better job of recognizing members that are put in those situations and making sure that they're cared for, that they're okay, that they're getting the support that they need. And they may not want to go home, right? They may want to stay with their family at their firehouse and finish out the shift. Because in some cases we're sending people home to an empty house. And that's not always a good thing either. So, but I think there's a lot of things that we have to think about, and we're aware of it now, I think, more so than we ever were.
And it's a long-term commitment, right? Because we're coming up on the 2-year anniversary. And Mike, I bet you can attest that you remember everything from that day from,
every day. It's here every day. I can tell you that. So,
yeah.
Well, I must say that the fact that you're here talking about this, right? Again, I know if I had experienced this, I think I would be retired on some beach somewhere, right? But you're here and you're at the training center. You're at the training center talking to these young kids and telling them, "Don't do what I did." You know how much effort, how much balls that takes to be able to tell someone.
I'm not gonna lie. I struggled for a few months, but once I decided that I needed to get back on the horse, so to say, I wanted to own it and make sure no one else did the mistakes that we all made, and I think people respect you more when you own it, and then move forward and start teaching. I guess to make sure no one else does it. At least that's how I feel about it.
No, and I think that's awesome stuff. That's awesome stuff. So, I'm gonna the other stuff there. You guys can see those things. You can go see the report. I've given you the link to that. And there's a video too that covers those things. But I wanted to make sure because I know when I talked to Chief Hughes, one of the things he talked about was he said was let's talk about the recovery. right? So we've been into this thing almost 2 years, right? I mean, we're a couple of days away from 2 years, and nothing. And I know I'm just like you guys, and all the things that I want it done today. But the fire service, the wheels turn slow. We're making good progress. I mean, it seems like you guys are doing real good. One of the things I really liked that you did was you even highlighted, which maybe it's a bad thing, is you showed that this same issue came up in Mark Falkenhand fire. The same issue came up with previous line of duty death. Who you had the guy with that pulled his mask off.
Gene
Kirshner.
Kirchner.
So the same issue happened with Gene's fire. So, and again, you've got 30 some years on, Chief. You've got 26 years. So, are you we're going to see this before? Again, I understand some things are going to take a couple of years, but are you satisfied with how far you've come so far?
Well, I'll start and then Scott can take it. All I can say is I'm never satisfied completely because there's way too much work to do. It's not going to happen before I retire. But am I happy and pleased with the trajectory and where we've come? Absolutely. I think one of the things in hindsight that we did as a after action team is we said we will not let this just become a report that ends up on a shelf somewhere. So we actually petitioned the chief of the fire department, and at that time she permitted us to do so. We created what we call the implementation team. So we basically said, look, this is the roadmap. These are the findings. These are the recommendations. And we created a team of people led by some rock star captains in the field who actually were charged with taking each recommendation and implementing it to the best of their ability. Now we're restricted, as Scott was alluding to, with some financial limitations, and we're a big department. The career and volunteer piece of it makes it challenging, but we've made a lot of strides with some positive steps. And I think that implementation team and Captain Hollenbach and Captain Stelmack, who were the ones tasked with taking that and running with it, they've done an amazing job. So I'm not super pleased with where we are because we could always be doing better, but I'm pretty damn happy that we're doing the work to head in the right direction.
So normally we talk about we don't want people to die in vain. We didn't have a line of duty death here, but we don't want to. And I'm not saying we want to take advantage of what happened, but we want to take advantage of what happened, right? I mean, if you can make this thing better, if you can use this to your advantage, why not?
Absolutely.
So, Chief Ebbert, normally I like to ask people, give me a couple of things, one or two or three things that they want people to learn out of a sacrifice. Again, we were close, but we didn't lose a life, but we don't want to waste this opportunity. A couple of things that you want people to take away from this incident.
I would say focus on the mission. The mission, we all sign up for this job for our own reasons, but ultimately it's to help people and, to give somebody a chance at survival and living a full life, and, risk a lot to save a lot. And that risk assessment piece is super important when it comes to deciding how much you're going to devote yourself to the mission, right? So you have to look at each incident, I think, carefully and decide, what you're willing to risk and what there is to save, and just remember the mission. And part of that mission is for you to go home to your family every night, right? I think another thing that people need to realize is that we have to invest in our people, right? We have to invest in our most valuable resource, which is our people, and training. Train. The day you stop learning is the day you should hang it up and retire. There's always something to learn. I go to work every day. I learn something. I am wrong every day. of my career. There's something that I learned from that. There's a lot to learn from this. I think we've done a really good job of learning from this incident. It's the most serious after action review I've ever been involved in, and I've seen a lot of things come out of it. Ken's right. There's a lot of work that we still need to do as a department. There always will be, but I think we've made strides in the right direction, and everybody should be proud of that. And I'm super proud of Mike, Lieutenant Dennis, for stepping up and talking about this and telling his story, because you're right, Tony. I think the best way that we honor our folks is not by throwing on Class A's and parading to the cemetery. It's by learning from them. That's the best way to honor our fallen, the ones that have close calls. We honor them by learning from them and preventing it from happening to us.
Yeah, very, very well put. Very well put. Chief Hughes, a couple, two or three, one or two things that you want people to take away from this?
I think the two things that really resonate, so the risk assessment, and I'm not just stealing what Scott said. I'm a big advocate of the NIOSH top 5. These things are killing us in our fire service consistently across the board, like a lack of communication, lack of accountability, failure to effectively implement an incident management system, failure to conduct a thorough risk assessment, and failure to have or lack of compliance with SOPs. I think of all of those, the risk assessment is the biggest deal. You're going to bring on the tail end some discussion of use of the thermal imager. I have a new impassioned view of the thermal imager camera. We're carrying them in the chief's cars now because they're helpful as a situational awareness tool. And I know that I make sure that the folks on my shift are using them. And it's really cool because they're sending me videos now of how they identified a hole in the floor or how they were able to locate a fire, and we actually have it on the footage. So that's an important tool in the whole risk assessment piece. And then the other thing that really resonates with me, and Mike said it best, when Chief Kimball taught him his rescue training, and Chief Kimball was an awesome chief and a great guy. He built muscle memory because Mike wasn't thinking logically in that situation. He went back to his midbrain and just functioned the way he was trained. And because of what he did, he's here to talk about it. And he's here to talk about it because of that training that was pushed on him. So muscle memory, train. I think that's one of the biggest pieces from this.
Mike, I know it has to be tough. It has to be tough to realize that you were lost in that building, and every the things that you've done, you thought, oh, I'm doing the right thing, and then all of a sudden you end up not knowing where you are. It's like, what? How did I get to this point? And for you to be able to talk about this and come on here and do this, I really appreciate you. What do you want people to take away from your experience?
I'll start with the same thing I tell all the recruits. Don't go to your first assignment and get on your cell phone. Put the phone down, go out and know your equipment, learn your equipment. Make sure you check it over, learn from your mistakes, and pass it on to the future, because you're going to have new guys coming up after you. You're going to have to give it to them because all of us are going to be gone sooner or later. So know your equipment and share the knowledge.
So I'm glad you said that, because I'm watching the video, and the captain said, "What did the captain say?" He said, there's nothing on that phone that would have saved you that night, right? Isn't that what he said?"
Yep.
And I mean, I get it. I get it so much, but I mean, there's got to be a way we can reach them, right? So even if it means that they watch this video on their phone, I'm cool with that, right? But at some point, yes, we have to put it down. Mark, can you bring the slides back up? All right, so we talked about the list. I want you guys to go on, look at the report. This month's skill drill is thermal imaging cameras. One of the things that we talked about here in list of recommendations: effective fireground tactics. one of the things that they talked about in the Baltimore County Fire was the lack of, or they didn't get the most out of the thermal imaging camera. And one of the biggest issues with this is nobody knows what they can get out of the camera, because we give people a camera and we say, here's how you turn it on, here's how you change the battery, and that's it. And that's pretty much where the training stops. And we have to do better. So this month we're going to get the camera out and we're going to try and figure out some ways, learn more about the camera. Talking to you guys know Andrew Starnes from Insight Fire Training. Andrew's a friend. He's a friend of Mayday Mondays. He's a friend of Tony Carroll. And I reached out to him and said, hey, this is what I'm doing. He said, well, here's some things that he saw when he came to visit with Baltimore County. Some of the things that get us into trouble. We failure to scan properly. Firefighters that have a camera, they fail to scan properly. Users scan too fast or they stand up. One of the things that Mike talked about was he had that camera, and when he was in the thermal layer, the smoke and all that stuff gets on the screen, and now you're done. You can't see anything. So you got to wipe that screen off. It's not the camera's fault. It's the user's fault. So don't stand up. Don't put yourself into that wet, smoky environment. Back in October of 2023, I did a Mayday Monday about thermal imaging cameras then as well. That was from a fire that Joey Baxa from West Virginia had. So please go check out that Mayday Monday and you'll get some more tips about the camera. Another issue that firefighters have when they use thermal imaging cameras, the failure to properly interpret thermal data. One of the issues is we think, oh, it's gray, it's not red, gray, it's not hot. Well, actually, some of those gray things can be convection currents. They can be convection currents, and they're telling us, if we read them properly, they're telling us where the fire is, and we can find them. So get out there and understand all the different things that the camera is telling you. What is the camera telling you? Another issue that firefighters have is they failure to properly identify objects for orientation purposes. And this is a big one when it comes to you need to get out fast, right? You're inside that building and you have to get out because conditions that way, the fire is that way. I need to find an exit. So when you turn the camera over here, you don't recognize that that's a door, that's a window, or that's an opening that you can go through to find your way out. Or maybe even that's the hose that you want to follow, right? Because it will show you that. So get out there and practice these things. Another big issue is we don't recognize the victim in the fire room, right? We are trained because we use these things on the apparatus floor, and on the apparatus floor, the victim looks hot. On a fire, it's going to be thermal inversion, and the victim's going to be cool, the fire's going to be hot. So we have to get out there and practice with these things. This month, what I want you to do is build that Palmer's dollhouse. Build the dollhouse and set it on fire, and use your thermal imaging camera to learn more about it. Learn when it switches into high sensitivity, when it switches to low sensitivity. Learn all the color palette and what it's telling you. Learn to recognize the heat in the smoke, right? Because when we're in zero visibility, that camera, we can use that camera to find the hot areas, and it will lead us to where the fire is. It will also lead us to exits if we understand what we're looking at. So I've included the blueprints in this month's Mayday Monday. Find that, build it. It takes 2 sheets of plywood to build this thing. It's even dummies like me. I built these things. I built a couple of these things in my garage downstairs. So you can do it. You don't have to be a carpenter. I mean, it's not going to hold a lot of air, but you can build it. So that's what this month's skills drill is to build that prop. Okay, get out there and do that so that you can enhance your decision making and use these cameras to your advantage. They are a great tool. All right, so I haven't. You guys have. You guys have made this like 2 hours long. So I really appreciate it. And we didn't lose We lost a couple of you during the storms, but ultimately it was 2 hours long. It was 2 hours through and through. So I can't say enough about you guys giving me your time, giving the fire service your time, Mike giving us your testimony, Chiefs giving us making yourselves available to pass on stuff that you learned. I appreciate you dressing up in your uniforms and not looking like crap, like
That was Scott's
Lieutenant
idea.
Dennis says. It makes me look bad because I have this Smokey the Bear shirt on, because I want to prevent forest fires. So, anyways, thank you guys so much. Again, did we miss anything? Is there something that we didn't? You guys were waiting to say and we didn't say it.
I think we hit it all pretty good.
Same.
Thank you so much, Baltimore County. We appreciate your efforts. You're bearing it all. You're showing the fire service, being a little humble about not being pumped up. We're the tough guys. We all make mistakes, and letting us learn from those. Maybe we'll revisit you guys in another year and see how much farther you have come. I definitely want to revisit, and we'll talk about March and that fire from years ago and what we can learn from that. Thank you so much, all of you out there in Mayday Monday land. Go build a dollhouse and burn it down so that you can practice with your thermal imaging camera. It's a great tool, and I speak from the report on my fire says he didn't take the thermal imaging camera. I went out and bought my own because it's so important. So thank you guys again. I appreciate Baltimore County. Here's to this month's Mayday Monday, and we'll see you in August. It's already August. So here's to you. We go back, look at last month's, and then build the dollhouse and burn it down. Make sure you send me pictures of you burning your dollhouse down. All right. Thank you, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you.